Howdy, Banger pals. Blayne Smith welcoming you to another Overkill Reviews, Banger's weekly metal review show. This week, I'm talking about a thing that you were yelling at me to talk about. Here's a very tiny part of a very big song. Yes, how could I not talk about Bellwitch's newest opus, Future Shadow Part 1, The Clandestine Gate. It came out April 21st as a sort of surprise release, which kind of didn't give us appropriate time to cover it. It's also just digitally that it was released then. The actual physical copies come out June 9th. I don't know, bit of a confusing release from Profound Lore, but I mean, I guess you can kind of do whatever you want with Bellwitch because people are crazy about Bellwitch, and I'm included in people. Yeah, the two-piece Funeral Doom band out of Seattle made up of a drummer and a bass player were always sort of underground darlings, but it would be 2017's Mirror Reaper that became sort of a cultural phenomenon, which is very surprising for a one-track, hour and 23-minute long single-song Funeral Doom record. People aren't supposed to like those, but it attracted wide attention. It spawned memes. It introduced the metal world to painter Mariusz Lewandowski, R.I.P., good sir, whose work is all over records now. And I gave the record a 5 out of 5 in one of my favorite reviews I've ever done. So how could this band follow up what potentially you could say is maybe one of the best, if not the best, Funeral Doom records ever made? Well, there's only one way you could follow it up, with another 83 minutes, I guess. I'm not going to bury the lead on you. Clandestine Gate is not better than Mirror Reaper, but this was almost guaranteed to be the case regardless of what the album sounded like. If it was as good as Mirror Reaper, if it was even marginally better, it wouldn't have that surprise kind of splash impact that allows you to make this large emotional attachment to a record. So that's kind of the thing that really pushes a record over the top and makes it one of these like 5 out of 5 forever etched in the halls kind of records. But Dylan and Jesse are cheeky bastards. And they've sort of cheated the system here because this isn't a follow-up record to Mirror Reaper. This is the first part of a trilogy that's meant to be listened to in an endless loop rather than a straight line. So instead of putting your focus towards the past and comparing this to Mirror Reaper, it makes you think about the future and what this means for the Bellwitch journey. That's good in that it's exciting and makes us think about the future and doesn't just go, yeah, it's not quite the follow-up I imagined that would never be possible to achieve. But as a result, it is the beginning of a journey. It is the appetizer to a main course, and it does feel like it lacks the meat of getting into that hearty entree. I mean, I haven't heard the following 2 records because they're not out yet, but one can assume that, yeah, it's going to build from here, and the next record will have a bigger impact. And then when you're listening to it in that circular pattern, this will serve as an intro and then a respite in the circular flow Ouroboros of never-ending Funeral Doom sitting there noddingness. The other tiny critique in regards to intros I'd have of this is the album intro, I do feel, is a little too long. I like the way it sounds, so I'm not mad at it happening, but it goes on for a while, and it makes the 2.5-minute start to Mirror Reaper seem brisk in comparison. Describing how this record sounds makes me feel like one of those Avatar dorks that tries to convince you those two movies aren't god-awful. No, man, you've got to let your eyes feel it. It's like you're seeing for the first time. You've got to experience it in Ultra AVX Super 3D. Otherwise, you can't judge the movies. You got to sit through all 8 hours with a pee bucket. Yeah, I can't help it, though. Everything on the record sounds impeccable. Oh, my God, everything's so rich and textured and full. Break out the Laserdisc player because you're going to want to experience this on some high-quality audio equipment. Just never let an audiophile tell you that expensive cables do anything. This is essential for the record's enjoyment because everything is so slow, so notes really hang there. They really sit in your ear for a long time, and because it sounds so good, it just gives you time to kind of feel and examine them and really, I guess, ponder that orb is what I'm doing there. It sounds a little pretentious, but you don't listen to this record the way you listen to a normal record. It's actually true. You'd think something this large, you'd take it on a macro level, but it's really getting in the micro and dwelling on little moments where the value's to be found, because I really can't stress, if you just focus on what is happening at that exact moment, oh man, it just sounds and feels really, really good. Okay, this is getting weird and sexual. Let's get out of that realm. Let's go in a violence direction for our analogies. The opening punch of this record, ooh, it is strong when we get there, though. I know I complained a bit about the intro length, but when you edge yourself along for that long, it does make it wildly satisfying. When we're back to pervert stuff, what am I trying to say here? The opening hit of the record brings with it that signature Bell Witch tone and lets you relax a bit and go, okay, Bell Witch are still really, really, really good at what they do, and they're going to bring me a unique experience that I can't get anywhere else. And it is a unique experience on this record compared to the previous one because the tone has shifted slightly. Last record, as I mentioned in the review, very sad, very somber. This one, less sad, more introspective, more philosophical, more looking around at the world. What's going on? You know, and that was what I heard before I read the accompanying documents and interviews with Dylan being like, yeah, I read a book, and so me and Jesse wrote a philosophical record. So mission achieved. And when you pair that with the fantastic sound of the record, as I previously mentioned, it elevates it even higher and really, yeah, makes it super, super, super satisfying. Again, to try to avoid those gross words, let's just listen to a clip. And here's your Patreon interjection where I remind you that we have a Patreon campaign and you can support us and get a bunch of things in return. Like tomorrow, the tip sheet comes out in case you don't have enough records on your slate. We put out a tip sheet every month. You'll always catch 5 extra records from this guy right here, as well as some members of the Banger team. So you want more records, you want more content, and you want to keep us from having to sell you on internet products you're not going to use, then, you know, toss us a couple bucks. In the Mirror Reaper review, I made this joke.
Oh, and everybody does vocals. Seriously, everybody. Dylan does vocals, Jesse does vocals, Eric Modridge from Aerial, Ruin, and Epidemic does vocals. Adrian even does vocals from Beyond the Grave. I'm not kidding.
And that's still mostly true. It is just the two of them singing this time instead of a bunch of people. But the two of them sing in a variety of different styles, so it winds up still sounding like a bunch of people. Of particular interest to me, and maybe you, is the extended gutturals compared to Mirror Reaper. While there were certainly growls before, these ones are longer and bring a more death metal-esque vibe to the track, instead of just, a quick, and unsurprisingly, these passages are coming along with the more crescendo-y parts of the track that become more and more frequent as we march towards the hour mark, giving us a nice payoff if we're a fan of extreme music within the heart of this track, song, album, whatever. What I'm saying is, if you stick around for the journey, there's, a nice little reward for you there. And I'll give you a little piece of it now. While the intro, I might want to get a little Edward Scissorhandsy with, the outro feels fantastic. There's a certain comedy that comes with metal bass players having more than 4 strings on their instrument, because they're usually playing the lowest stuff you could possibly hear, making the whole thing seem like an exercise in pointless wankery accompanied by neon green strings and an awful body. The bass body, I'm not talking about the bass player's body, although usually, let's not get into it. Dylan is the full exception to this. Again, I'm talking about his playing. I'm not talking about his body. What's going on in this review? Similarly to the way on the last record they used all parts of the Sadness Buffalo, Dylan's really using all parts of the 6-string bass with haunting highs and house buzzing lows. We get treated to this in it's lonesome for the whole 6 last minutes of the record. And it's a very cathartic way to end the experience. It sort of feels like you went to a hot yoga class and you've done all this really intense exertion, and then those last couple of minutes where you kind of just lie there contemplatively, meditatively, and Dylan said about the 3-album package, it can be continuously looped. Like a day cycle, this would be dawn, the next one would be noon, the following would be sundown, with dawn and sundown both having something of night. If it were up to me, I would never wake up before noon a day in my life, so it's natural for dawn to be my least favorite of the 3. Regardless, though, this is still the full Bellwitch experience. You've got an impeccable bass range with great tone. You've got an incredibly powerful and emotive drummer just really trying to deliver and build upon and move past what is a genre-defying staple of the metal and one of the, blah, 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 blah. They probably could have pulled off a sleep and just lived off both the strength and the novelty of the one song massive album ridiculousness for 20 years, but that's not what they're doing, and I'm very happy, and it makes me happy, and I hope you enjoy it. And there is a bit of expectation with the score I have to give because, again, full package, blah, 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 blah. And so this is an anticipatory score, I guess. I'm giving it 4 out of 5 very expectant skulls that are excited for the, empire now that we've done A New Hope. Thus we come to shoutouts, and while I normally try and group the shoutouts and stuff that, is in the same genre, there's not really things that sound like Bellwitch, and they certainly don't come out every single month. So here are some stuff that are tangentially related. Allochiria, Commotion on Venerate Industries. This is some Greek post-metal sludginess, so you're getting a bit of that kind of vibe, the neurosis-y kind of thing going there, so that might accompany this well. We've got Runemagick, Beyond the Cenotaph of Mankind on Hammerheart Records. This is a Swedish death doom band that's been around for a very long time and released a pretty handsome collection of records. Again, it's death doom, so it's going to bring a slower but heavy experience. And then we've got Nadir releasing Extinction Rituals. It's an independent release. This I found and thought was really cool. I was drawn in by the cover. It's black metal with some kind of punky vocals. And then I found out the vocalist was Ulawik, who I met in Norway when I was there randomly. So, hey, good job. So that's been the review. What did you think? The record's actually out, so we can talk. Have you experienced the grandeur yet? What did you think? How did it hold up to Mirror Reaper? What are your expectations for the future? Let me know in the comments below.